Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to today's session at the Book Cafe, the English Book Depot. Today's session is really special and exciting as we are joined by an esteemed author whose work revolves around art, literature, and culture. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Shashi Ranjan Kumar, sir, the author of The Decline of the Hindu Civilization. I would like to welcome you, sir, and thank you for joining us today. So, talking about your book, firstly, what inspired you to write The Decline of the Hindu Civilization, especially in today's time?
Sneha, thank you very much uh, for giving me this opportunity to have this conversation with you. And a very warm good evening to all your listeners. I think past is incredibly important. And I am very fond of saying that the road to the future goes through the past. And every nation must have a sense of itself, and the people must have sense of their history. Well, only then you are able to imagine a future which really can you aspire to create. So that is why it is very incredibly important. And why Hindu civilization? Because what is happening in today's time is that this civilization is caught between two extreme narrative. On the one side, there are people who would like to appropriate all sorts of achievements, some even fictional. On the other hand, there are people who reduce Hinduism and Hindu civilization only to negative things like social oppression, mindless ritualism, and superstitions. My attempt in this book has been to present to the readers all its beauty of this civilization and also its failures.
Okay, so I also wanted to ask about a little journey. So, what experiences in your life influenced you to write this?
I think I have also been a keen reader
Okay.
from my childhood days, and I think my father had a great role in inspiring me. In fact, I grew up in a village, in a very remote village in Bihar, in Gaya district of Bihar. And obviously, there was no library, but there was one person in the nearby village who used to run a small library. He used to lend books at very cheap rate, and my father would bring those books. My father never bothered me about my textbook, but whenever I went with him to either the bazaar or for anything else, he would tell me about history, he will tell about philosophy, political science, world affairs. So I got uh, uh, interest in reading. And then, although I am a student of science and I did my engineering, but during the preparation of civil services examination, I got to read a little bit more deeply about history, about political science and other issues. And then particularly reading Naipaul's work, you may be aware that V.S. Naipaul has written three books on India. The first one, An Area of Darkness. The second one is India Wounded Civilization, and then followed by India Million Mutinies. When I read those books, then I kind of realized that the way what we have been told about our own history is not quite accurate. And from that, I drew inspiration to go actually into the primary sources. So you will see if you go through my book, I have really referred to those primary texts. And as I went into those primary texts, a kind of different picture emerged. And so I went deeper and deeper into these sources and our own history, our own past.
That's very inspiring and interesting. And according to your understanding, when did Hindu civilization begin and when did it reach its peak?
See, Hinduism is very old, although we must realize that word Hinduism itself is of very recent origin. The Hinduism word has been used for the first time only in 18th century. But the sense of being a Hindu was there all along. Initially, of course, Hindu was merely used in an ethnogeographic sense, right from the inscription of Darius. Anybody who is living east of Indus, Sindhu Nadi, east of Sindhu Nadi, was called a Hindu because the Persian could not pronounce Sa. So they pronounced a Hindu, Ha. So Sa became Ha, it became Hindu. Okay. Right up to 12th, 13th century, until the arrival of Islam, the Hindu term is being used as a ethnogeographical sense. After that, this word then starts getting religious connotation. So Hindu civilization is as old. No, it begins from the Vedas and the Upanishads and the Puranas and the darshanas, the 6 darsanas. And recently, I think I saw Mr. William Dalrymple's book, The Golden Road, where he also makes this argument that if you look at the first millennium of the Common Era, that first millennium of the Common Era is the era where we were able to achieve great heights. We were able not only to achieve great heights, but also to export these ideas into almost half of the then known world. Just look at east of India, right up to Indonesia and Japan. The Indian imprint is so much visible.
Yeah.
Be it literature, be it astronomy, be it mathematics, painting, music, everything has been profoundly impacted by this civilization.
Exactly. So talking about its peak, so what do you think? What factors contributed to its decline over time as well?
See, one thing, this is one example of a civilization and its ideas spreading not on the back of the horses of the invaders, conquistadors, but only through the power of the ideas. Okay. The ideas were so powerful that without any force, they spread to whole of Southeast Asia, China, Japan. But what we were lacking was a hard power to act as a shield of that soft power. We really did not invest so much in hard power. And hard power was required to give a cover to the soft power. When we were defeated and the foreigners started ruling us, at that point of time, the decline began.
Okay. Okay, so additionally, what lessons can we learn from its rise and decline that are relevant to the present day?
See, one thing is very important, and which I would like to tell your readers and your listeners, that self-renewal and inquiry is very important for intellectual progress. Okay, reason. And contrary to popular belief, where Hinduism is basically equated with superstitions, our civilization, most important pillar was what we call vad, debate, argument, counter argument. And in fact, we can paraphrase one of the sutras of Nyaya Darshan, Vade Vade Jayate Tatbodha. What is Tatvabodh? Tat means reality. How do you understand reality? bodh. How do you perceive reality? Tattva. You perceive reality only by vade, by reasoning and counter reasoning, arguments and counter arguments, evidence and counter evidence. So this spirit is very important to learn, to ask question, to go deep into things. Idea to learn from others is very important. Spirit of excellence. Anybody who has listened to Indian classical music would know what perfection means. If you go to the temple of Khajuraho, to Konark, you know what excellence means in construction. Now just compare our today's position to that. Where has that spirit of excellence disappeared? Where has that spirit of inquiry disappeared?
Exactly. So what do you think future generation will perceive modern civilization as?
Pardon?
Like what? How do you think future generation will perceive modern Hindu civilization?
Future generation has to create this civilization.
Okay.
You know, I sometimes say that I, contrary to other people who think that we lost our sovereignty in 1757 after Battle of Plassey, I believe that we lost our sovereignty in 1206. Okay, when Delhi Sultanate was established, and we stopped making decisions for ourselves from that point of time. So sometimes I say that those people who were there in this country between 1900 and 1950, they made tremendous sacrifices to bring back the political sovereignty, to get India's independence. Okay, only when you become sovereign, you are able to take decisions for yourselves. So that generation did that. The generation from 50 to 2000 was the generation which kind of pulled India from abyss to the ground. It is people like you who are now from 2000 to 2050 who, with their hard work, spirit of excellence, can bring back our lost glory.
Wow.
So that by 2047, when we are celebrating 100 years of independence, and by 2050, when we are celebrating 100 of republic, we can create an India which is prosperous, which is peaceful, where there is a sense of fraternity, where everybody is free from disease, hunger, and basic necessities are met.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights, and it has been truly inspiring and engaging talking to you. On behalf of this book cafe, I would like to thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil.